Yeah, let's see him. So last time we talked about the Buddha insight about the realms of beings, like the celestial realms, the human realm. Now go down to the realm of animals. If his passion exceed his thought, he will born in the realm of animals, where the dread passion create a beast with hair and fur, and male passion produce a wings and feathers creatures. Was too general, right? So one more times, the Buddha said that if they have more thought, they would be in the realm of celestial or heaven. But if they have equal, right here, his thought and passion are equal proportion, so he will neither rise or sink. But here for the them animals, if they have more passion than the thought, that's why they reborn in the realm of animals. Of course, we have all kind of animals on the air, uh, on the ground, and under the water. So here the red passion create the beast with hair and fur, and male passion produce wings, feathers, and creature. Uh, It makes sense, but somehow this is out of our scope, right? It's out of our understanding because we don't know exactly how they were reborn, right? But still, we trust the Buddha word. Hmm. So uh, for the even for the normal Buddhist, it's not easy to understand, right? Not talking about non-Buddhist one.
Mm.
So the important is if a passion exceeds his thought, that means if we have uh, more attachment, right? Uh, More passionate views about life, we may go down. And if we have more thoughtful approach, we may be up there in heaven. That in general sense. Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. Uh,
That, I mean, that makes sense because you can kind of see people while they're still alive.
mm,
If they're thoughtful, they tend to have a life that's less, there's less suffering, there's more ease, there's more peacefulness. If they're driven by their desires, like their passion for fulfilling desires, then they tend to have a lot more conflict, chaos, difficulty, ups and downs. That's and it kind of parallels the difference between a heavenly being or an animal. So that
mm,
got some resonance, I think, with daily life.
mm. About the one that nearest to us, like the pet, the dog and the cat, right? Uh, so it's different from the birds. Uh, what do you think?
Hmm. Yeah, they just have more of an affinity with humans, and they're not having to kill to survive. They're not having to seek out their own shelters, so they have more blessings.
Mhm.
Um, and they seem to be drawn like their payoff is sort of like comfort and ease, really, with relatively like no thought about anything, just eating and sleeping and sensation
Mm.
of like running or being pet. Uh, so it seemed like those are like gentler passions in a sense, probably that lead to being a pet.
What do you think the reason why the Buddha mentioned in the Dhammanesh Sutra, one of the minor precepts is that we're not supposed to raise pet or raise animals.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too when you got on this subject, because it seems like it could cut both ways. Like it seems like from one perspective, if someone raised an animal, maybe they would have an influence on the animal that it could be more likely to be reborn as a human. But I think the reason the Buddha says for those taking the bodhisattva way not to is because of the developing a deep familiarity and love and affection towards that sort of pet could increase the likelihood that they're reborn in
Yes.
that, because if they don't have judgment and they're practicing like this universal love, then they could sort of perhaps slip into that if their wisdom wasn't at a high enough level. And so it's out of compassion for them. I think any of these things that on the surface could look a little restrictive, when we have a higher level of wisdom, I think we can appreciate that it's to protect the practitioner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's one thing. Uh, Many years ago, actually, I think uh, I think when I was in college, when I was layman, I read a story that one young man he died because of car accident, but later on the family got I think a dog or a cat. Somehow that cat, I think a dog, yeah, a dog behaved almost exactly like the boy that just passed away. The dog jumped on the bed and behaved in the ways that the parents could not believe themselves. That dog behave like their um, diseased son. That's a story. That the story in the news. There's nothing to do with Buddhism. And of course, we can relate that much easy, right? So sometimes because of attachment, someone passed away and they jump into some form of life and they come back. Mm. Uh, During the summer camp just last week, so some youth asked me that how could I describe the past life uh, on the or the incarnation of someone else. So I gave them the real story. There's one old man, he passed away in Atlanta. So after his 4 days of praying, his children, grandchildren, rode their car from Atlanta to our temple in Corden. And guess what? When they just got to the gate, remember the gate of our temple in Corden? So somehow there was a big butterfly. That butterfly flew with their car from the gate to our main temple. It's more than 2,000 feet away. If it just coincident uh, and flew around and for a while and disappeared, that's a different story. But it flew together. It flew and it followed the car from the gate up to the main temple. It's more than 2,000 feet away. How could we explain for that phenomenon? It's so obvious in Buddhist view. Is the soul of their fathers or grandfathers that appear and remind them, "Oh, I'm here with you." But of course, it doesn't mean that he was born as the butterflies. In Buddhist view, it's sometimes they may take that life for a while, and after that they may go to different route with the bird, depend upon their own karmas. It's like when we go astray while we're driving around, and if we get lost, eventually we find some way to get back to our path. It's a similar way. I don't know whether I told you the story that uh, a monk somehow he recognized us. He was born at the peak in his reincarnation. I told you yet? No.
Um,
Let me finish the story. So when he recognized he was born as a pig, a little pig, and he said, "I was a cultivator. How could I come here?" So at that time, He didn't want to eat anything. So that's why he starved to death. And he was reincarnated as human again. Later on, he told that story. My point is that, yes, sometimes we may go astray, sometimes we may miss the way, but eventually, because our karma and our wish, we would go get back to our way with our path, no matter what, whether we're still alive or whether we pass away or not.
Mhm.
If our karma is not there, we won't stay there for a while. So that's why I go back to the story of the butterflies. So I told the youth that that's why I recognize by the variety. And at that time, there were two of his grandchildren there among the youth. I told them they are the one. But of course, at that time they were still young to recognize. Only their parents could recognize. So my point is again, in Buddhist view, we and others can take any kind of forms, but we would go with the path or the realms that's more suitable for our karmas and our consciousness. If it's not, we would stay away from them. That's why I used to tell the Buddhists, don't worry, in the future you may not be a Buddhist. The only thing you need to worry is that how much or how sincere you are, how serious you are, how devout you are now is more important. Then the future you concerned that you won't see meet the Buddha teaching the monk and so forth. That's what happened to me when I was in refugee camp, especially in Philippines camp. At that time, somehow I had some kind of spiritual awakenings, and somehow I felt strongly that I would become a Buddhist monk, and I really concerned. I don't know when I went to the state, I could have a chance to go to the Buddhist temple anymore. And guess what? When I got to the state, I mean at Philadelphia, at that time there was only one temple. It's about at least 45 to an hour drive away from the apartment that I live. And because I have the urge, yeah, the urge to go to the temple. Even in the snow time, I walk for a few hours from my apartment to the temple. That's once in a while, not every time. Of course, the most of the time, people would pick me up and bring me to the temple. So my point is that as long as we have the will, as long as we have the inclination, we would go or move forward to the one that we like to, no matter who we are and whichever path we go and whoever we encounter, we interact with. Because everything depends upon our will and our karma. So if we miss uh, the road, if we go astray one way and we in one way and others, we find out the way back to our path. Yeah. So that's why is everything is depend upon our will. Okay, one thing I want to ask you, you read many Chekya tale story, the past like the Buddha, right?
Yeah, not recently, but years ago.
You recognize that sometime he was born as a monkey, as a bear, as a dog, as the elephant, and so forth. So what do you think about those type of animal forms that the Buddha has in the past life?
Okay. I mean, they're relatively higher animal forms
Mm-hmm.
compared to like an insect, a slug, a worm, And it's kind of wild to think about the Buddha at that stage of development still being born as an animal. But I think there are things that we can learn from animals as well, like qualities that some animals have naturally, like a dog. is just incredibly loyal and enthusiastic and affectionate, and like can be disciplined, can be trained. Like so, I think there's some like there's lessons in all of those stories, and even if we don't take them literally, I think there's great lessons in there. If we take it literally, then it may help us to not look like to slight animals too much because they're like they could be future Buddhas.
Hmm. Yeah, one way we can look at that. But my point is, how could the Buddha take those type of animal forms? Of course, we know most of the animals form the Buddha have in the Chakra tales, it illustrates some kind of morality, and on the top that he knew exactly what he was doing, no matter what type of forms of life. And go back to the question that for us, can we take any form of lives as Buddha? So that let's say, can we be a monkey? Can we be a dog? Can we be an elephant as the path of the Buddha and practice the and still have ability to practice Bodhisattva path, or we may forget everything when we have that kind of animal forms.
Hmm. So maybe the Buddha taking those animal forms, that's different than if like I or a normal person like myself would take the animal form like that. The Buddha taking it was more of in line with the development of the Bodhisattva way, whereas for a normal person like myself, it could be a consequence of karma and consciousness.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes sense. It's sort of like if you're doing yoga, you take all these different positions and you express a stable, peaceful mind, even in very difficult positions.
Okay, that's true.
And
Yes.
that's, oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
That even like in yoga, there's these different positions and that are very difficult and unusual. And part of the practice is to retain focus and calmness and balance in all these different positions. So it seems like perhaps taking these different animal forms is like a very advanced yoga, like beyond just positioning the body, but actually like taking on different positions of consciousness, but still keeping the compassionate mind.
And I think it's not easy. For example, uh, even your case, right? So you're there in Naples, right? You may not have a circle of Buddhist friends, right? Now, not talking about, let's say we were born as a dog. How could we find a Buddhist dog talk to and learn a form, right?
Yeah.
Useful. That's the point, right? That's what I want to ask. I wonder probably because the Buddha vows, you know, he know exactly what he was doing for those type of animals, right? Yeah, this otherwise for us there's no way. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a big challenge. It's not easy. So until we have the type of high advanced wisdom, right, and compassion, and we know exactly what we're going to do, what go to help those type of people or animals. Uh, Otherwise, we get lost ourselves too in that form of life.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like you're pointing at the unshakable perfection of the Buddha, where it's not like when the Buddha achieved Buddhahood in this world 2,500 years ago, like it's not like when the first atomic bomb was dropped, they weren't really sure if it was going to work.
Mhm.
Like something was being tried, and yeah, it went off and it worked, and it was a terrible thing. It killed many, but whatever. I don't know the balance of it, but like the Buddha has been through so many trials, through so many filters, tests to like really purify that kind of that golden essence that's interesting. Those animal lives is another part of the filter that ensured that the achievement of correct and right enlightenment was like indestructible, totally solid down to every like roots down, like so deep and stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh, that's why even the Buddha advised the young monks to stay in the quiet place, in the peaceful place, like the forest, the mountain, instead of stay in the city. So he said that it's better for the young monk to stay in the forest and mountain to sleep. They can sleep in that type of environment. They can sleep in the mountain, in the forest, but it's so dangerous for them to stay in the city, big city, because after waking up from sleeping, they can continue to work to practice. But if they abuse it in the city, it's easy for them to be tempted uh, by all kind of sensation. Uh, and that's why we need to know our strength, right? If we don't know our strength, it's easy to be pulled away. And nowadays, especially the AI, especially all kind of temptation, uh, distraction in Facebook and so forth. If we don't know what we are going to, what we doing for our practice and help others, we get lost too. Not talking about young people. I think it's a challenge for the monastics nowadays because all kind of social medias mm, that they use as a temptation and distraction for them to do the practice of meditation. Yeah, so it's not easy.
I mean, yeah, they're particularly designed to get people to stay on them as long as possible.
Yes.
And these sort of drives that they use, that they try to tap into, are like the worst drives. It's like anger, outrage, um, desire, you know, attraction, um, like, and then they just try to deliver, they try to know the person perfectly to deliver the precise content that will keep them engaged and keep them watching more. So yeah, I think one way it can be, we can cultivate good content like YouTube shorts and YouTube feeds. If I like the videos that are like good videos and I'm listening to educational, uplifting content, then that's what they'll deliver to me because they know that's what I'll engage with. Um, but if I were to engage with other stuff, then they're going to start filling my feed with that.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. Even nowadays, right, we're in the realm of human for us nowadays, right? When we deal with AI, we did all kind of fake story, uh, information and so forth. We don't know how to filter out them in the proper way, right? Not talking about when we fall down in the low realm existence, right? That's why the Buddha say it's better not to go down there. When we go down there, we get stuck there. There's one story that one time when the Buddha and Ananda went around and somehow they stop at a forest and especially at the big trees. There's a armies of ants. They run around the trees, big trees, and the Buddha point out to those, and the Buddha say to Ananda, "You do know that for s- many a numerous lifetime, those ants they here, they were born and they came back here, they were born and then come back here and again and again. uh, uh, endlessly because they get used to being become an ant. Now imagine that somehow we fall down that little, that couple ants, we would not get out easily, and there's no way for us to meet with the Dharma, with Buddha and Sangha. There's no way, and we get lost again and again in that type of realms. So that's why it's not easy uh, to have the human life. If we don't know how to handle that, mm, this is pure hard for us to get back to the Dharma when we go down there. Mm, yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, let's see here. We have time. I think we can do. Can you read it, please?
Oh, yeah. The realm of hungry ghosts. If his passions and thoughts are in the proportion of 7 to 3, he will sink into the wheel of water close to the region of fire, will endure intense heat, and be reborn as a hungry ghost whose body is constantly scorched by heat and drowned in water, so that he will suffer from hunger and thirst for hundreds and thousands of eons. Yeah, that's obviously not appealing. And that's the hungry ghost reincarnation comes from being greedy, having a lack of generosity, never being satisfied, always wanting more. Um, and that would be a form of passion in a certain sense. Um, Very intense, like desire, craving.
Hmm. Some of
And
my these people they ask, is there any difference between ghost and the battle? That means intermediate means that means someone passed away, they stay in that type of state of mind. Is there any difference?
I think so, because the hungry ghost is classified as an incarnation
Hmm.
and that someone stays in for thousands of eons. And the bardo, one's generally only supposed to stay there for like up to 49 days. So it seems like it is because the Buddha said that Devadatta would be reborn as a hungry ghost. And so it seems that if it was just stuck in the bardo, there'd be a different term for that. It's not a property of bardo bodies that's described. They don't say that when we're passing from one life to the next, all of us suffer from this hunger and this thirst. I think for someone who's going to become a heavenly being, it's a very pleasant process. So I think it's got to be different than just the bardo body.
So later on, we studied about the 12 types of beings, and in that type of um, categories, the Buddha mentioned in detail how beings were born up and down again, and also in some passages, in some Buddhist sutra, the Buddha mentioned that there's some type of blessing ghost that opposite with hungry ghost. So they have some kind, they have more blessing than them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were born in the form of ghost, but they have more blessing. They receive the offering from other people, and and so forth. It's the opposite with this type of hungry ghost. Yeah.
The Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra,
Yeah.
like the poisonless,
Hmm.
is one of the ghosts. The first one that when the previous incarnation of Earth Store Bodhisattva was transported to the hells, that ghost king met her there and like kind of she asked him questions.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, so in Buddhist view, right, we have two sides of the coins, right? A multi face of beings, especially among our humans beings. We have all kind of people, right? Rich, poor, um, intelligent and unintelligent, strong, weak, and so forth, right? It's all kind of people, and I think in the work the same ways that as any form of life, whether it's in animals, we know that uh, for sure, and of course for invisible beings, it's many layers of celestial beings. The celestial beings in the desire realm, celestial being in the form realm, celestial being in the formless realm. And now we talk about Holy Ghost. It opposite with that is blessing ghost, and we have animal, all kind of animals. Even let's say the pet in America, they're so blessed. But if they live in Vietnam or South Asia country, they be consumed by people. So anyway, this would depend on the blessing, right? So you see, two things, everything has two sides of the coins. Yeah, so it's not one way. Okay, so I think we can discuss more about Hungry Ghost next time. It's been interesting. Yeah, there's many story, especially in the Pali tradition. It talk about all types of hungry ghosts that Mongolian, so he saw in person. You read some of his story. Mongolian.
I know, yeah, no Magallanes, but I don't remember any hungry ghost stories.
I can give you that link then after this, so you can see there's many story related to hungry ghosts there. Yeah, we can talk about that. I'm sorry. Next Wednesday, I won't be here because I'm driving down from New Jersey to Atlanta for a few days, and we can meet after that then. Okay?
You're gonna drive all the way from New Jersey to Atlanta?
Not myself, with all the monks, with
Oh,
Kiêu Đạo and one more monk. Yeah, we will go down there. Yeah, by driving, we take turn to drive.
it's a long trip.
New Jersey, from
Yeah.
Jersey to Atlanta. Yeah, it's probably about more than 10 hours of drive, but we take turn to drive.
Yeah, from Indiana, it's about 10 to go from Indianapolis to Atlanta. So yeah, that makes sense. New Jersey, maybe 10 or 12. Yeah, not too bad. You could do that in a day with three people. Yeah.
Drive. Okay,
Okay.
see you then. See you not next Wednesday, but after that then.
Perfect. Thank you, Ty.
We'll see you. Thank you.